So much to chew about. Now, another thing I know that a lot of people are wondering how to make quick money. Now, there are various investment options that have been given to individuals with regards how to make money, because at this time things are really very tight. You have children going back to school, you need to pay your rent, you need to put food on your table, you need to move around. So consumer spending has largely contracted in the last couple of months, especially since we're falling deeper into recession. Now, there have been some schemes that have come up to try to encourage people to make money, especially since you don't want to talk to a portfolio manager or an investment manager. But I've got a portfolio manager here with me in the studios as we take a look at healthy investment options at this time, because believe it or not, your money is very hard earned, and it should be a sad thing to see it go in a very reckless way. Bolahon, I know, is a portfolio manager with Quadros Capital. He's joining me on the program as we take a look at investing. Bolahon, good morning to you, and thank you so much for joining me on the program.
Good morning, Aria. Thanks for having me.
So right now, we're talking about investing. And as a portfolio manager, I had a conversation with you sometime last week, and we talked about mutual funds as an investment option. But it seems as if we're having the return of Ponzi schemes. Now, everybody knows what a Ponzi scheme is. It's, a quick way of making money. But is it an investment option?
Okay, thank you very much, Aret. That's a very good question. I can remember several years ago, I think I was fresh out of school then, and I was the era of the Wonder Banks. And what the Wonder Banks will promise you is that if you invest maybe 2,500, they'll give you 250,000 under a month. And I was first to investment then. So I can remember going to convince my mom that just give me 50,000 naira, I'll pay you back maybe in a month's time, I'll pay you interest. And she bought into it. She also invested, my sisters invested, and then at the end of the day, we were all swindled. And at the end of the day, those Wonder Banks, they faded out, they fizzled away. And I think that's what we are seeing now at the moment. I've noticed that usually when there's either a market boom or a recession, we see some of these Wonder Banks, and they try to play on people's ignorance or suspecting investors that they don't understand the marketplace. So what the Wonder Banks will say is that just hypothetically plant vegetables and you reap cocoa. Just imagine, you plant vegetables in a matter of weeks, cocoa takes years, and they'll tell you that you can invest and get multiple returns in just a number of time. And that typically explains what a Ponzi scheme is. So a Ponzi scheme is a fraudulent investment vehicle or scheme, and they promise investors high return with little risk. And what they do is that they pay investors with money that old investors have invested, and after a while they fizzle away. So there's nothing tangible, there's no underlying instruments, and most people are falling prey to a lot of this Ponzi scheme at the moment.
Bolahon, explain it to us very clearly. You know, if I, for instance, decide to go into such a scheme, if I want to invest, is my money going anywhere? Is it trading in any visible, either securities, either bonds, either treasuries, for it to give me any form of return? Because like you mentioned, when you put in X amount of money, say for instance, I put in 10 naira, I am promised 3% or 30% on that 10 naira that I have put in there. What is that money used to generate the extra funds that will be paid to me and you probably and 10 other people who have actually invested their monies in terms of interest?
Okay, so I think for a lot of investors, if you're going to invest in any investment, you need to understand that investment. Of course, you might not understand it critically, but you need to have an idea, what is this company investing in? What are the quantitative factors? What are the qualitative factors? So qualitative factors are things like management, organization structure, strategic intent of the company. So for Ponzi scheme, they don't actually invest in anything. So this is the way it works. So 10 of us start the investment, and they promise us 30% return in a month's time. And because we are so excited, we get some other 20 people to come into that scheme. So when those 20 people come into the scheme, the money that they bring to the scheme, they used to pay the initial investors, initial depositors. So it keeps going on and on and on until it's not sustainable. So there's nothing tangible. You are not investing in any asset, no infrastructure, no company. So it's just money going around. Like you said, it's robbing Peter to pay Paul.
So you take from Peter to pay Paul, take from Paul to pay John, as the case may be.
And Judas disappears at the end of the day.
No, unfortunately, you see, in this case, we cannot have anybody disappearing with the monies, because it's very important for you to keep your monies at this time. Now, a lot of people have argued, you talked about the Wonder Banks. Now, does it also, is it the same thing as a Ponzi scheme or the pyramid scheme?
So they are just variations. So in all of them, they promise high return and nothing underlying, no underlying assets, and they just use the money that new investors have put into the scheme to pay back. And I think for a lot of investors, why some are ignorant, I think some are also very greedy. So some people just want to earn 30% in a month, in two months. If you analyze that 30% in a year, that's maybe close to maybe 500% return. So the question is, what kind of business can give you that kind of return in this climate that we are in?
Is it only greed that you think that pushes people to go into such schemes? Is it only greed that you think has resulted in a resurgence of such schemes?
No, it's not just greed. Some is that ignorance. So they play on people's ignorance. And it's so sad because we found that some people put their retirement savings into this Ponzi scheme. And at the end of the day, people just fade away with their hard-earned money. And I think people just need to understand what they're investing. So in investment, there's what we call life cycle investing, and more or less tells you what kind of investment you should do at different stages of your life. So there's accumulation stage, there's consolidation, there's gifting and spending. At those stages, that kind of investment you can do. So I don't expect someone that's just retired to put all of his gratuity in such a scheme. You need to diversify your portfolio. But it's so sad that we are seeing the resurgence of this Ponzi scheme in this recession period. It's just sad.
Okay, so at this time, whose responsibility is it? Or is it that it's a free-for-all market? Because we had this coming up in 2009. This is 7 years later, and it's resurfacing again. So whose responsibility is it to keep such schemes off from the public and away from the investing?
So the SEC, they are doing a lot. That's the Securities and Exchange Commission. I think on the 12th of September, they came out with a disclaimer, and they mentioned one of the scheme, and they mentioned that people should avoid those schemes, because really the SEC, they are the ones that regulate all investment activities in Nigeria and other jurisdiction as well. Every jurisdiction has their own SEC. They also regulate the product as well. So if you're going to invest in a product, always find out, is it regulated by SEC if it's a retail product? Also find out if the company itself is regulated by SEC. And I think a lot of investors, they don't do all their due diligence.
But then you see, it also behoves on the regulator. We've got the regulator, that's the Securities and Exchange Commission, coming in just after now. It also behoves on the regulator to make sure that such things don't even come out at all, because it's as if there's a crack somewhere, and things just keep slipping out. So how does this always slip out?
Okay, I think it's not just peculiar to Nigeria. Funny enough, the Ponzi scheme started from America, and it was actually after somebody's name, Charles Ponzi. So he was during the postal era, and he got out to make money from just buying coupons and converting to postage stamps in that era. That was 1919. So then stamp had various prices all over the world. So buy the cheap coupon and convert it to stamp. So we see a lot of people investing in the company. That wasn't wrong, that was arbitrage. But after a while, he wasn't doing anything, and he was just trading the money around and promising huge profits without actually investing or doing the postal business. So it's not peculiar to Nigeria. In 2008, there's Bernard Madoff as well. He was a fine investment banker, celebrated, was a poster boy of investment as well, but was being investigated for over 10 years before they later discovered that it was a Ponzi scheme. So this was what he was doing. He was promising clients that was making huge return, huge profits, but meanwhile it was false. So it was managing, I think what was lost was about $65 billion assets. So it's not peculiar to Nigeria. I think people just devise means to take advantage of loopholes in the system. So
Bolahon, for people not to take advantage of the loopholes in the system, we talked about mutual funds the other day, and then you mentioned, of course, it's a basket of tradable either equities, bills, or bonds. Now, a lot of people always say that portfolio managers are never ever truthful to them with regards how much returns they can make. So if, for instance, I want to go ahead and invest in a mutual fund and not fall prey to any of these Ponzi or pyramid schemes, what very realistic options or advice would you be giving to your average Nigerian who has just about 10,000 or even 15,000 naira to spare?
Okay, investment is quite interesting. Investment is an art and a science. So art, as in you get skillful, the more you invest. Science, there's a process, there's a methodology to how you invest. So for every investor, it's not like a one-size-fits-all. So I need to understand your objective, I need to understand your goals, I need to understand your investment horizon, I need to understand your risk profile. So for instance, you come to me that, oh, I have such an amount of money to invest. I'm not going to just tell you invest in this mutual fund. I need to understand how long do you want to invest for. I need to understand what I'm trying to achieve. I need to understand your return expectation. So it's based on that I can now advise you. So for a retail investor, many people that don't have a lot of money, a lot of times mutual fund is like a best fit for them, because most portfolio manager will want to have like a bespoke product for HNIs. That means it's tailor made for every HNIs. Those are people with tens of millions of naira, hundreds of millions of naira. But people with small money, there are a lot of mutual funds they can buy. So we have equity mutual funds, we have money market mutual fund, there's bond mutual fund. So if you have an horizon of like 2 to 3 years, you can do like an equity mutual fund. If you just have like a short year horizon, like you need to pay school fees, you need to pay for your rent, you are planning to get married, you can do like a money market mutual fund. What that does for you is that it gives you competitive return, now probably what you can get in a savings account. And money is very safe because regulated by the SEC. Also, there's liquidity, so it pays periodic interest every 3 months.
All right. Well, Ahon, thank you so much for coming on the program and kicking off the conversation for us as we continue our focus on Ponzi schemes.
Thank you very much.
Well, Business Money continues in just a moment. We're continuing our conversation on the Ponzi scheme, and we've got the regulator, the Securities and Exchange Commission, speaking to us about it in just a bit. Stay with us.